Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. The sun's shining, it's a beautiful day, everything's right in the world. Tottenham are back at the top of the league. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought that after 9 matches we'd still be unbeaten and still be riding that crest of a wave that Ange Postecoglou has created for us? Unbelievable. It's early days, let's be fair. And we know we've got to keep our feet firmly on the ground. We're too long in the tooth to get overexcited about the league and all the rest of it. But you have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy when things are going in your direction. So, didn't go to the game yesterday. As I said, it's on a Monday night. Some of us have got work and it makes it very, very difficult. So I didn't go, but I did go out and watch it with my boy and a couple of mates, Colin and Dave, and we had a decent time watching it in the club. And I have to say, the football in the first half of that game was unbelievable. It was a joy to watch. After what we've been watching under the previous managers, and even towards the end of Pochettino, how badly that went, it was such a joy to watch some football that was really pleasing on the eye. The pace, the turnover of the ball, the pressing, the challenging was brilliant to see. I thought the whole team played really, really well. Udogie on the left-hand side, I commented a couple of times about he's so far up the pitch. You forget that he's the left back, right? Because he's up there ahead of Richarlison in the box. And I'm like, what's he doing there? But his confidence and his physicality on the ball and his ability to hold on to it for such a young guy was a pleasure to actually see. Maddison, like, he's the engine room of the team. You cannot fault his endeavour and his work rate. It was, really, really pleasurable to see. And I felt the whole team worked really, really well. Even Højbjerg gets an awful lot of stick, coming in. Basuma's not in the team. And you didn't lose that intensity. You didn't lose that control of the game. And it was just really, really pleasing to see that. I was really happy that he had a decent game because he's come under a lot of stick. And sometimes I feel it's a little bit unfair, bearing in mind the pressure he's been under, in a defensive formation, constantly being, overrun. Is it any wonder you haven't seen the best of him? But to see him playing in a more forward role and kind of just holding it up and having someone decent next to him who can control the game as well, it just felt so much better, and it was a real pleasure to see. I don't think you can call anybody out really. Even Vicario, a couple of little bit of sloppiness. But you just knew that there was real good control in the back line. Van der Ven and Romero were right there. You just couldn't see anything going past them. And towards the end of the game, even when you're seeing, Emerson, getting a couple of really important blocks in and charging the ball down, it seemed really controlled. Even there was a point where they were literally, you could just see it going in the back of the net and taking away our sort of clean sheet. And I was looking at it and I'm like, no, please. And boom, the fence was there. They snuffed it out, they got it away, break away. And it looked like there was never a threat there in the first place. But as I say, Vicario, a couple of really good saves in the game as well. So a couple of mistakes that looked a bit could have been costly, but wasn't. But at the same time, he pulled out a couple of really good saves that kind of really balances that out. So really, really pleased for him. He seems to be growing in that role. One of the other things, whilst I'm talking about the defence, I have to say there was an incident where it looked like Romero was going to get himself into a confrontation with a Fulham player, And straight away, Van der Ven was straight in there, pushed him away, got his arms around him and calmed the situation down, which is actually brilliant to see, because then you know they're building a relationship, they're looking out for each other, and they know, he knows, Van der Ven knows that Romero can be fiery. Romero knows that he can't really afford to be fiery, so he took on board the intervention of Van der Ven, and I thought that was great. It shows a real team spirit and how they're really looking out for each other. So I was really pleased with that. I think if you're gonna call out, and I don't want to call it out as really negatively, but Richarlison is just not happening for him. It's just such a shame, because I've got to say, the first half I thought he was outstanding. I thought he worked so hard. He was all over the pitch. He got an assist, and he worked really well down that left side. And I thought he had probably his best game for us in that period. And it felt like, as I was watching the game, I said to a couple of the guys, it's almost like they're trying to team up. There was an opportunity for Son where he should have took it on, but instead he played it out to Richarlison, who then blasted it over the bar. And then there was a couple of other opportunities where they're all lining up in the box, and you think that you're just trying to get it to Richarlison so he can score. And I understand why you would want to do that. But for him, it's not just about the scoring goals. It's about his overall contribution we need to take into account. So I'm not going to give up on him. I think we do need to get a backup. I really do, because obviously we've gone from Harry Kane, who was scoring 30 plus a season, to Richarlison, who can't hit the back of the net currently. But there needs to be some in between there. But whilst the other players are chipping in, your Son, your Maddisons, and a couple from the defenders and the midfield, and when these other players are knocking it in, you don't need just an out-and-out striker to keep putting it in the back of the net for you, because it can come from anywhere. And that's what makes us really dangerous, is that they know that when you break like that, there's a number of players who can put the ball in the back of the net. You've got Sai, you've got Højbjerg, you've got Bissouma, you've got Porro, even like players like Emerson, Maddison, Son. There's so many of those players that are able to score goals, are able to chip in, that we don't have to rely on that one player to make it happen for us. But it still would be great to have him off the mark, on a consistent basis, getting the ball in the back of the net. And I just feel like it's pressure upon himself that is stopping him. I feel like he's trying too hard, and the team are trying too hard for it to get him in, get a goal for him. Second half, I just got to touch on that. Second half, I felt that we came out rather scrappily. Felt like we were still in the changing room for a long period. I didn't feel like we were as fluid and as quick and as on it as we should be. And I know the second goal comes in and it settles the nerves and everything else. But I just felt like we were so dominant and we were so good that we couldn't really afford to take our foot off the gas like that. And I think, like, when you start, you started to see a little bit of tiredness creeping in and so on. And the manager made the decision to make some substitutions and so on. And at that point, I felt like Fulham kind of got their tails up a little bit, and they thought, well, hold on a minute, these are new players. They're not going to be right up for it yet. They're not going to be as good as the others and as joined up, and that we could get an opportunity here. And Fulham really pushed for it, and that made me feel a little bit nervy, being a Tottenham fan as well. But ultimately, we rode the storm, and the players did what they needed to do, and they got us over the line. We've got a clean sheet as well, and we remain unbeaten. So you can't ask for more than that. So I think every player is playing their part. Like I say, good to see Brennan Johnson come back. Okay, only got 10 minutes, but let's see how he gets on, to give him some minutes. And the young lad, the young striker coming in, Villes coming in as well, getting a feel for the game. I think he's ahead of schedule, because Postecoglou said that he would be, back end of the season, sort of post Christmas. So he seems to be a bit ahead of the timelines. So he must be impressing in training, and that's why he's kind of pushing him forward. So overall, you've got to be pleased with that performance. You can't complain at that type of football that we're seeing, and obviously the results that we're getting from it. But listen, I'm an old man. We just got to be a little bit careful. Don't get carried away. Don't believe all the hype. Don't let the players believe the hype that they are unbeatable, because there will be an opportunity to come along where we will miss our chance. We will get beaten, and there will be some negative stuff coming out. That's going to happen. It's part of the game. But if we can keep the good times as often as possible, then that's so much the better. And I would rather see us lose a game or draw a game playing good football in the way we are, with heart and passion and endeavour, than to see us wimping out like we don't care. Because that's how I felt last season. Whereas this season, I feel like I'm confident we could always get a result. And if we're not going to get a result, it won't be for the lack of effort. And that's what you want from your football team. You want the effort. You want to see them really putting something in it and playing for the shirt. And the celebrations at the end and coming over to the fans and all the rest of it, I think it was all part of that, building that collective attitude, atmosphere, relationship that's going to get us, take us further and further on as a football club. And I think it's long overdue, and it's thanks to Ange Postecoglou for what he's done, for his straight talking, his honesty, for being down to earth, and for caring and wanting to be the manager of this great football club. So the future's bright. We keep going. It's another game. It's another one to tick off. I got my prediction right on the Irish Hotspur. I said 2-0, so I'm chuffed with that. And we move on to Crystal Palace, which again will be a difficult game. I know they're not having the best of seasons at the moment. They may not be setting the world alight, but they're a tough team. It's a London derby. It's away from home. They're going to work hard. They're going to be the ones that are going to want to take away that unbeaten run. Of course they are. But fingers crossed that we overcome, and that puts us 5 points ahead before a ball is kicked at the weekend. And then we see where that takes us. It's a new pressure. It's a new pressure for our players, but I think they're up for it. So if they're up for it and we're up for it, we can achieve anything. But you've got to keep the faith. I love this club, and I'll keep supporting. So I'll leave it there. Like, subscribe, all that kind of malarkey if you fancy it. If you don't fancy it, no problem. But thanks for watching anyway, and I'll see you on the next one. Up the Spurs.